thank Lieutenant McLeod for being here today. Officer Greg McCrae is here today, and I'll introduce you to our newest officer, Officer Mike Turco is here today. Michael's finishing up in the field training officer program now. When he enters the ranks, that is when we're going to roll out the traffic officer position. You're going to be seeing this Tuesday night at the selectmen's meeting. I'm going to present the budget, and we're going to have that company come in and talk about the staffing study, the staffing survey, and they're obviously recommending we add quite a few officers to the department. We're pretty much strictly reactive department. We want to be proactive, and that's what this traffic officer position is. So as long as we can do it, we'll do it, but obviously calls come first. The overtime has been high, so we're kind of watching the budget when it comes to that. And just to show you, the positive impact we're making, Officer Turco with his field training officers the other day were called to someone that was in cardiac arrest, and they provided CPR, and they actually brought this person back. So the person is still with us right now. So I think it's really important that we have those tires that meet the road. It's critical that we get a timely response to these calls for service as we move forward. So hopefully you'll consider attending town meeting on the 16th of March as we present our budget and try to kind of add some tires that meet the road is what I'm hoping as we move forward. It's going to be a long-term project. K-9's up and running and doing very well. I'm going to have Officer Pulcino and Lucas, his partner, come in April. Next month, we're going to have our town clerk come in, talk about what the clerk's office does and elections and different things. So we're going to keep this program going, talking with Westborough TV to kind of expand this a little bit too, moving forward. So things are going very well at the police department. It's been very busy. Forbes building is starting to come along. I'm not quite sure when we're going to be in, so we're still in our temporary office park at 2400 Computer Drive. I had one of our residents reach out to me before I introduce our speaker and just ask me to talk about, she was concerned when she sees people walking and different things, that you remember if it's at night, you have a flashlight and reflective gear on because the traffic volume is so high and at times you don't see people, you don't want to see anyone get injured. So just to keep that in mind too. And I think that's great that the community's emailing me, calling me, we're partnering together, identifying problems, identifying issues, and then trying to find a way to work together to solve them. And that's what kind of today's all about. So I'm going to be introducing Linda Cavailoi today. She's going to talk about what she does with the YWCA, which is in town. I went to a presentation that she gave at Penta, and it was very informing. So I asked her, would you mind coming in to the senior center so we can get this out to the public via public access cable to kind of let them know the great work that they're doing to support our community. So without further ado, I'll introduce Linda to the group. Don't forget, follow us on Facebook.
So I'm Linda Cavailoi, the Executive Director of the YWCA of Central Mass, and we're located over on Grove Street, and we've been there for a very long time. We're a multi-service agency in Westborough. We're predominantly childcare, and I know those of you in the room may not be ready for childcare at this point, but you have friends and family members who may be. But let me tell you a little bit about who we are and what we've done in our history here in Westborough. We have been providing services in the Central Mass area since 1885. The YWCA of Central Mass opened in Worcester in 1885 mainly to provide housing for single women entering the city to have a safe, supportive place to live when they came into the city to work, go to school, or have that kind of activity in their life. And in the 1850s through the 1900s, early 1900s, YWCA started all over the country for that very reason. So urban centers where women were entering to work and go to school and there was no safe, supportive housing. We're one of 250 YWCAs in the country, and we all share the same mission. Our mission is to eliminate racism and to empower women and girls and to provide peace, justice, dignity, and freedom for all. So we're a racial, social justice, economic justice agency. We collectively, YWCA's in the country. And I say that because not only do we provide on-the-ground services in communities, but one of our most important jobs is to collectively take our knowledge with those services and change policy. Because that's really where we can do our best work. We can help one child, one family at a time. But when collectively we know, and I know like seniors are as active as that, that's the only way we're really gonna make a difference in our communities, is to know what we know. Like you just heard of a scam, that kind of work needs to be done collectively. So collectively, the YWCAs are the largest provider of domestic violence services in the country. And one of the top childcare providers, because we haven't found a way to economically empower and support families without doing accessible, affordable, quality childcare in communities across the country. And in fact, that's how we started in Westborough. In 1968, the women and families of Westborough approached the YWCA to help them solve the problem of needing childcare. And at that time, we were given space in the Harvey building, and very shortly after that, in the Eli Whitney School building, to open early care and education. Then it was called daycare, childcare, and everybody thought it was babysitting. But even at that time, it was to provide early education for children, to support the working families and get them ready for school. And today, we still provide that service in the Eli Whitney School building. In fact, you said town meeting. I went to many town meetings to be able to buy that building, renovate it with the help of the community, and expand our early care and education. I was talking to a woman at my table who said that the YWCA used to be much more in Westborough than it is today, and that's true, but we changed to meet the needs of the community. And we were doing some health and wellness and other kinds of programming, but other organizations are now doing that. Our friends, YMCA, the boroughs. So we knew that our niche, particularly being downtown Westborough, was early care and education. So that's what we do. We're nationally accredited, we're licensed, and we infuse STEM with the help of the parents. We are able to really have high quality, accessible childcare. And right now, if we had the staff, we would be opening another toddler room, because we have enough on our waiting list to be able to open another toddler room. So we provide infant, toddler, and preschool childcare. And I said the largest service that is provided by YWCA's is domestic violence. The YWCA Central Mass is one of we are the domestic violence contracted provider in the Central Region, and we have 2 shelters, emergency shelters in confidential locations. We have hotline, chat line, and we provide community-based services. New Hope has the Westborough District Court, but in our region, New Hope and the YWCA are the ones that try to mobilize the community resources to be able to support individuals and families. So one of the last resorts for individuals who are experiencing domestic violence is sheltering. That's the last thing we want to do, is pull someone out of their home, put them in a confidential location outside of their community, away from their resources. So most of what we do, the largest number of people we serve, is through hotline counseling and services that are court-based, police-based, or in the community setting. The YWCA found that there's such a large need and so few resources that we've tried to be very strategic in our work. So one of the things that we've done is, in many communities, police and courts sit around a table to bring the highest risk cases to be able to take a community approach to solve them. And that's one of the things we do. Another one is create a roundtable of all the organizations that may touch that, from a health center to a hospital, to be able to understand the need and then respond. About 5 years ago, the State Department of Public Health became the primary funder for domestic violence services. And instead of their original focus of adults, so the woman or sometimes man enters the court or the police or the system, and what we've learned with so much of the knowledge around trauma is one of the primary focuses and audience we also have to serve is children. So the whole face of services in the domestic violence, serving intimate partner violence also focuses on children. And we've had to retool our staff, and they didn't give us more money to do that. They just gave us more direction on our focus. The other things that we provide, mainly in our Worcester location, is we do health and wellness. Our focus is wellness and health equity. It's not just a exercise in a pool. It really focuses on access to healthy eating and healthy living. So we work very hard with agencies that provide counseling or health for chronic illness to try to draw those individuals in who may not otherwise have access to a health and fitness center. We also work very hard in the youth arena because we're not the only youth agency in Worcester, but Boys and Girls Club, Girls Inc., YW, Friendly House. Many of our partners came together in a consortium to do better outreach, engaging young people and their families, and making sure they get to the right place. Transportation is a huge issue, as I'm sure you find that here. So we also provide school-based services, and until about 10 years ago, we worked with the Westborough Public Schools, but that's also a place where youth services. So I know that the Westborough Public Schools has after-school programs. We all try to figure out where the need is and how to best provide the service. Another, we still provide housing in our Worcester facility, and what we found is there's more options available for women with children and families than single individuals. And I would say that single individual males need as much support as we and Abby's house are providing for single women. So there's still a great need for individuals, women particularly, and we serve from a wide geographic area because there's not other individual transitional housing programs. And when I got to the YWCA many years ago, 27, the predominant population we were serving were women in recovery of all ages. Today, the largest population we're serving are immigrant women. And so we're trying to work with other organizations to make it safe, get economic self-sufficiency, because that's our goal, is if we could help individuals experiencing violence with economic self-sufficiency, they might leave. Because one of the reasons people don't leave those situations is they don't have the ability to make a home separate from that individual that they're with. So I brought a lot of information around that. Not maybe that you need it, but that you would be able to get that to people who may need it. We're embarking upon a big project. I know that when I used to go to town meetings and we tried to raise the money to renovate that wonderful 100-year-old schoolhouse, well, we have a building in Worcester that we haven't touched in over 30 years. And it became clear that, particularly with all the downtown development and the services that we provide, that we needed to upgrade, bring to code, make sure that we were serving domestic violence victims appropriately, because when we became a provider, we just stuck people in all corners of a building. And I know organizations do that. If you're a nonprofit and you're asked to provide a new service, I'm sure here, you try to find a corner in a space. Well, it is, for us, more than half of the people that we serve now is through our domestic violence programs. And everybody would come into our lobby, whether you were coming to drop your child off for childcare, or coming in from court, or the police department in Worcester, or one of the surrounding towns, and it was not appropriate to have that kind of, it wasn't as safe and confidential. So the renovation is gonna allow us to expand childcare by 10. We have 137 slots. We have 65 here, and we're trying to open another room. We'll be able to expand childcare. We'll be able to add rooms. Right now, we have 41 rooms for residents, and we're full with a waiting list of 50. Abby's house is going under a renovation, our sister agency, and they're expanding because they're full with a waiting list. So we're gonna be able to expand that. But one of the most heartening things for me is when we change our childcare structure, we're gonna be able to free up a whole wing of our building and have a separate and safe, secure entrance for anybody coming to us that is coming from a crisis situation, so that we'll be able to have safety, security, better space for not just adults but children. We're gonna increase our youth space, because now being part of a consortium of agencies, we really need more flexible space to serve girls and young people in general. So we're gonna create some classroom/program space. So we're not able to go up or out because we're considered a historic building. Now, we knew when we did the Eli Whitney School building, that was historic, but we didn't know that our facility in Worcester, which was built in '61, was historic. I'm older than the building, but the building is historic. So we're taking our care to follow all those rules like we did when we did the Eli Whitney School building. But reconfiguring existing space is going to give us the expansion that we need. Not everything we provide is in a building. Much of what we provide is community-based. So although, yes, we're a childcare provider in Westborough, we work with the library and all kinds of other organizations to be able to help address the needs in the communities in which we're in. So we have, the Worcester project is a $24 million project with all kinds of funding sources, which is making me awake at night with credits and grants from the state, but we are also raising money privately, and we've had some very generous support. I'm not here to ask you for money, I'm just here to tell you that the YWCA is alive and well. We did our Westborough facility in 2000, we did our camp in 2004, and it's now time for us to address code and all of those necessary improvements in our building, besides the fact that the only place where there's air conditioning is in childcare and health and wellness. The rest of us, including our women on the 3rd and 4th floor, are not appropriately cooled. So we're gonna try to make all of those things happen. But we, as I said, we're gonna be 135 years old next year. Not me, but the organization. We have been nimble and quick to try to respond to the needs in a community as it's come to us. I told you how we started in Westborough, and the need is still great for individuals of all income levels to be able to have access to quality, accessible early care and education, as well as other services. And we stand ready to be able to work with our partners in the community on addressing important needs. And again, domestic violence doesn't just address poor individuals in cities. We serve 61 cities and towns in the Central Mass region. So once you go past Worcester, Leominster, Fitchburg, the rest is not urban. It's urban, rural, suburban where we're present. So I will leave our 24-hour helpline, these little tear-offs if you want to pass the number on, and then our annual report, because we're accountable. The organization, since I've been there, has grown. We've been able to attract more government funds, although we don't want to be all government funded. We're still half and half private and government. And so if you're interested in that kind of accountability, but I want to thank you. I will leave some business cards, or everybody knows where to reach me. And please take a tour of the Child Care Center on Grove Street. We preserved the big windows and the chalkboards, and we tried to integrate the needs of today's early care and education with the incredible beauty and historic nature of the building. So I'd love to answer any questions.
Do you have transportation to get the kids there?
No,
That's it.
we don't have transportation. Most of the families that we serve are working families, and so we're on their route, which is why there's choices for childcare in the area. But we do take vouchers, so we do have low-income childcare, but we don't have state-supported childcare. We don't have DCF slots, and DCF is really where the transportation is offered.
Do you want that?
I don't know that we have the capacity in our facility at this point in time. When you do a DCF slot, you have to have a nurse on site, social worker, transportation, and meals. And right now, we work with families on, we do the snacks, they bring their meals, and we do a lot of supportive services to families. We work with mental health and autism and other types of services, but we have not really had the capacity to do the state-supported childcare.
Do you know about the interfaith hospitality services where they have a house where people are housed until they get their own, and then they go from there to work and their
No.
children? Oh,
I'd love to, though.
I'll talk to you.
Okay. Other questions? Oh, sorry.
You mentioned different phases of life. You didn't mention elder abuse.
We definitely work with, the elder services programs when it's reported to us. The majority of the violence issues we deal with are intimate partner violence and stalking. When we work at the courthouse, we do restraining orders and stalking orders. When we're faced with child abuse or child sexual abuse or elder abuse, we work with the partner agencies that have that as their purview. The thing about the YWCA, Elder Services, DCF, if it's a child abuse situation, you know, we try very hard not to duplicate, and we know what we do well, and we know where we need to partner with the other expert in the field. So yes, when we do, and there is intimate partner violence in elders, so we work with people through the ages, but if it's a 51A situation, we work with the state. If it's an elder by a caregiver or something, we would work with elder services.
Well, I'd like to thank, oh, I'm sorry.
Is that okay?
Oh.
Question I'm going to ask may be a little redundant because it came a little late and I apologize for
That's
that.
all right.
But the facility that you have on Grove Street, you mentioned childcare services you provide there. What other services do you provide there? And for the childcare, is there a cost for the parent to bring the child there for childcare during the day? And how do you determine if there's an overfill, which ones will get the services for their child?
Okay, we were more multi-service prior to our renovation in 2000. And when we did renovate and expand our services in 2000 when we bought the building, the need that was brought to us was childcare. So basically, we increased our capacity to serve children from infants, toddlers, preschoolers. So we have an opportunity to expand a room now for toddlers, and we have an opportunity to expand one preschool room. Other than that, the expansion that we built, we're full. And right now, we're full even though sometimes we've struggled with preschool because of all the choices. People come, tour, and either there's a slot available or they go on a wait list. And it's literally first come, first serve. We don't, the only determination we would have is if someone is eligible for a voucher, they would be part of our wait list. We would work with them on getting the voucher. We work very closely with parents, and that's one of the reasons we don't have transportation. And we don't even have transportation in Worcester because our philosophy is we want to be in touch with caregivers every day, morning and afternoon, so that we can do some of that parent connection and understand the needs of their children and where we might be able to refer them to resources. So every morning and every afternoon, we are connected with the caregivers of the children, whether it be a parent and grandparent or, and so that's how we do our connection and education. But the parent group in Westborough is very involved in our center. We're blessed. They have a parent advisory committee. They actually have just created the STEM room across from our 2 preschool rooms because they thought that that was something that was much needed, and so they put their efforts towards us. We have all kinds of parent engagement programs. We use an evaluation system called Teaching Strategies Gold, where the parents can go online and discuss and talk about the needs of their children. So we have very engaged parents. Part of that is that we are in touch with them every day, and it's a first come, first serve on the waiting list. But we will connect, again, if it's mental health or developmental disabilities, we work with resources that have that expertise to support the families and either bring those services in or refer the children out.
So is this a free service?
No, God, no. No. Childcare is highly regulated. That's part of our licensing and national accreditation. There's fees that are determined. If we take vouchers, which we do, then we have a guidance by the state so that we can serve that population. It helps guide our fees for service. So there is a fee for service for infant, toddler, preschool. Infants and tots, the ratios are high. 2 staff per every 7 children, 2 staff per every 9 children. Once you get to preschool, it's 1 to 10. So it's definitely not free, but we are probably 20% below the market rate of other childcare in this area. Part of it's our mission, and part of it is that we're a nonprofit, we're not a private operation. We're a not-for-profit.
How does this voucher system work?
If someone is in need, returning to work, or there's many different qualifications for vouchers. They just call 211, they get on the voucher wait list, and work with the center that's their choice. When there's a voucher, it's the parent choice to pick the center that they want to go to that accepts vouchers and that has a slot.
So it's the state that provides the voucher?
Yes, the state Department of Early Care and Education, as well as there are some through the Department of Transitional Assistance for working, someone going to school and going back to work. So yeah, but we can help direct people on 211, Mass 211, which is available to everybody for all services, can help with that. But we also help the parents or potential parents with that process.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
I think the common theme is, it's teamwork, that makes the dream work. I know Advocates was our first speaker that came in. We talked about Department of Mental Health. We wrote a grant for Northborough, Southborough, and Westborough, and that's actually the first clinician that we hired. It kind of fell through, so they're actually going through the final stages now, so that program will be up and running again. Being able to have a clinician in the cruiser to help people in times of crisis, whether it be domestic violence and different things. We also have that Human Alliance meeting every other month here in Westborough that's chaired by Westborough Youth and Family Services. And again, bringing entities together kind of solve problems and work together, and I think that's how we do that. And this is a prime example of bringing people together to kind of help those in need or in crisis. So I want to thank Linda and all her staff for their efforts. Thank all of you for coming, and I hope to see you again on the 8th, first full week Friday in March. Have a great week, everyone.